What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. My name is Michael. Have you ever wondered how photographers make objects and products flow in their pictures? If you're wondering and you want to learn how to do that, today I'm about to show you how to do that. So don't go anywhere. Alright guys, and we're back. You already have an idea of what I'm gonna make because you're seeing the YouTube thumbnail. So we're gonna be using two products. My first product is gonna be the Iron Giant, the Cosmo Burger Edition. This is by Diamond Select Toys, a beautiful figure. I'm gonna leave a link in the description if you're interested. I did a review on this figure maybe about 6 or 7 months ago, so go ahead and check it out. So as you can see, I already have my Iron Giant already on the pose that I want for this shoe. I'm looking for a dynamic pose for this shoe, and I think I got it already. So I want him to look maybe like he's flipping, some kind of action happening. And my second product is gonna be Spyro the Dragon. This is from the video game, and this is a figure by NECA. I still haven't done a review on this figure. But I think this is a beautiful figure by NECA Toys. So for this figure, I just want to have him flying somewhere. My original idea, I believe I had it somewhere here at the front, but I ended up using the pose maybe from this angle. I think it looked much better. All right, so first step before moving on. First step, figure out your composition. What do you want to shoot? That's the part that might take you the most to figure out, but it's worth it. If you gotta make sketches or drawings, do that. In my case, what I did, I had an idea and then I set up everything. For my shoot, I'm doing it indoor. You can shoot your pictures outdoor, and also you can do your pictures with any products. It doesn't have to be toys. You can use anything you want for this tutorial. So figure out your composition. How do you want your figures posed? You want some dynamic action, or you're just trying to make something simple, make it look like floating? You can do any of them, but once you figure out your composition, then you want to go ahead and start with your setup. For this video, I'm using hanging wires, frame hanging wires. I think those are much easier to bend. You can also use your clothes hangers. They're a little bit more difficult to bend, but they're sturdy and your figure will stay a little bit more still. So you can use anything, but I would recommend maybe the hanging wire. I think for me was a better choice. So once you have that, you have your figures hanging and everything, take a couple pictures and look at the frame on the camera and see if you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, then keep playing until you got what you're looking for. Now for this setup, I want to keep it very simple, and I think if you don't have experience with camera, I'm going to give you the settings. And even if you don't have experience with Photoshop, some people are afraid of Photoshop, I'm also going to show you the easy steps to make this happen. So once you have your composition, everything figured out, then we move on to step number 2, and that is to take a picture. But before you take a picture, make sure your camera is on a tripod or your cell phone. Now, it's very important to keep your camera static because it'll make it so much easier when you're editing your pictures in Photoshop. So very important. So once you have your composition, step number 2, you got that frame that you want, and then you take a picture. If you want to take maybe 2 or 3 pictures just to make sure. Now, in my case, what I did is I took a picture and I focused on the Iron Giant, and then I took another picture and I focused on the Spyro. So when you're editing this, you can choose whichever focus you want better. Now the extra step that I did for this video is I took an additional picture of me in the shot because I wanted to make a YouTube thumbnail to make it attractive for you guys, to get your attention. Step number 3, then you want to take a clean shot of your background. So remove your products, your objects, hangers, everything, and take a couple pictures. Now you want to keep the focus, the original focus, like if you were focusing on maybe the Iron Giant, so that way you keep that background a little bit blurry. You can also take a backup, a sharp background if you want to. You can always change this with Photoshop, but I'm trying to keep it very simple, so that way you don't have to do any additional steps. All right, and now we're gonna move to our last step, and that is to edit our photo in Photoshop. So remember, we have our composition figured out, we took a picture of our products, and then we took a picture, a clean picture of just the background. And now we move on to Photoshop. All right, and let's go ahead and edit our picture. But before we move on, a small little favor: if you like this video, don't forget to like this video. It helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm, so thank you in advance. And don't forget to subscribe here to my channel. Don't forget to activate the notification bell so that way you don't miss any of my video. And if you're on Instagram, you can follow me at michaels.collectibles. All right, so let's get into Photoshop. So first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and open up Photoshop here. All right, so first thing we want to do, I'm going to go ahead and find my favorite picture with my products. Let's go ahead and take a closer look and see if this is a picture I want. So let's go ahead and open our picture. All right, and now we want to open our second image, which is the clean image. All right, so here we go. So we got our first image with our products, and then we have our clean image without the products. So as you can see, they're identical, except we're missing the products. Now, if you were taking these pictures with handheld, then you have to realign everything, and that's really difficult to do. So what I would recommend, like I mentioned before, make sure you're using a tripod. It'll make things much easier. So let's see. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and copy our products image. Select all, copy. We're going to go ahead and copy this, and then we're going to go ahead and paste. We're going to paste on the image. All right, cool. So now we can go ahead and close this one. We don't need this. Image 9283, don't need it, thank you. All right, so now we have the two layers. This is your first time editing with Photoshop. Once you get your two pictures open, they're in the same page in Photoshop. Now you have two layers. You have your product layer, you have your clean layer. Now this is the part where it gets really, I say to me, it's fun, easy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, on the products, we're gonna go ahead and select that. And we're gonna go ahead and click our mask, layer mask. We click that, and as you can see, it created a white mask. Now what you want to do is you want to paint over this, and it does some kind of magic where it kind of looks like as you're deleting, but basically you're painting over. So in this case, your mask is white, so you want to use black, and then you want to go ahead and grab your brush. So this is a fun part. So let's go ahead and zoom in and watch how the magic happens here. So here we go, and we're gonna set our opacity at, let's say, maybe 50, and let's have some fun here. So right now I'm making my brush a little bit larger, and you can do that by selecting here as well, and you can actually change the size of it. So here we go, let's see what happens. So let's look at the magic here. If you change the opacity, it'll be a little bit faster. So now tell me this is not magic. Even if you don't have Photoshop experience, you can make this happen. And for this part right here, there's several ways you can do it. You can use the pen tool and you can trace the edges and everything, or if you want, you can go ahead and change the your brush on the hardness. I would say make it to 100%, and then you want to get really up close. Make that brush a little smaller, and just keep working like this on the edges. This is pretty easy. Anybody can do this. And voila, we got our wire clean. Now, if you can, when you're taking the pictures, if you can hide that wire, it'll make things much easier. I didn't want to take my time to hide the wire. So as you can see, it's on the shot. So that's the part where you have to get creative. So think about that. Whenever you're posting your products, if you can somehow manage to hide that wire, it'll make your editing much easier. Now, if you have a second person to help you, an assistant, much easier, because while you're posing, you can have one of your friends holding it from the back, and that way you don't have that wire in front of the object. So something to keep in mind. If you got the help, I would say use it. It'll make things much easier. I wanted to shoot this on my own without any help, just to show you that you don't need an assistant. You can actually do this on your own. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing now with spiral here. The other thing I want to point out, since I'm on the second floor here at the studios, my floor is not concrete, it's wood, it's made out of wood. So the problem I have is that whenever I'm taking pictures and I have objects or products or toys hanging, they never stay still, because every time I walk or move, it moves, because I don't have a concrete solid floor. Now if you're not on the second floor and you have a concrete solid floor, then you don't need to use what I did here. I used a tripod to hold spiral, and I used a toy arm to hold the Iron Giant to keep him from moving. It's very important to keep your toys or your products from moving. So the best way to do that is with a solid table, a solid floor, and also make sure to have your tripod, so that way your camera's not moving. It's much easier to do this. So I had to get a little bit creative here. Now I had to delete all these stands and the tripod. So let's go ahead and do this really quick. All right, moving on. Now, like I mentioned before, there's some other ways that you can use, like the pen tool. For this video, I'm trying to keep it simple. So if this is your first time doing this, I want to keep it simple for you. Later on, if you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can watch some other videos that I've made where I'm using the pen tool, and it makes this a little bit faster. All right, and the rest here is pretty simple, really easy. Then we can make that brush bigger, and we can just make everything else disappear. Now, one thing I will recommend, let's go ahead and go back. I will recommend to change, if you're not doing the details like up close, I would just change the hardness back to soft. It'll make things a little bit easier when you're deleting, when you're painting over the mask. It just blends a little bit better. Alright guys, and look at that. Pretty amazing, right? Pretty easy. Alright, so the last thing I have to do, I have to get rid of the wire. Like I mentioned before, if you can get creative and hide that wire so you don't see it, it makes things much easier. Since I was a little bit lazy, I didn't do that, so now I had to spend the extra time here doing this. So if you still want to watch this, you can go ahead. If not, you can skip the video. So here we go. All right, so in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and move from my mask, and I'm gonna move to the actual picture. I'm gonna grab my patch tool, and let's see what I can get away with here. Okay, I'm gonna use the stamp tool now. Alright guys, and voila, there is a spiral. We got spiral floating, flying in my room. That looks pretty cool, right? Alright, now we're gonna move on to Iron Giant. We gotta get rid of this wire right here. I mean, I don't have to, people won't even notice, but for the sake of this video, let's go ahead and do that. place. So now I'm gonna go the additional step. So now this additional step is I want to be in the picture. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this really quick just so we don't extend this video and it's not too long. But it's basically the same process that I'm doing here, except you have to spend a little bit more time. I made it difficult because I use a tripod and I use the little stand. So now there's some parts that this same technique may not work the same, so I had to recreate some parts of the arm. So if you want to watch this part of the video, you can. If not, you can skip towards the end. All right. Alright, and the final additional step, if you want to add some action movement happening here, then we can just add a little bit of a blur. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and copy really quick here. I'm gonna use my lasso tool, and for the tail I want to have some sort of motion. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and copy and paste in place, and then I'm gonna just go ahead and go to filter and motion blur, and let's see what we get. There we go. Now I don't want too much, maybe change the angle a little bit, and just little, not too much, just a little. And let's see, before, after. Maybe a little bit less. There we go. Before and after. Excellent. Alright, and final one is gonna be the Iron Giant. I'm thinking doing the same thing maybe with his right arm. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. Copy, paste in place, and now we want to do the same. Filter and motion blur, and here we want to change the angle to a 56 angle, and then we want to blur it out. Let's see what we got, and that's good. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And now we press OK. And now we're gonna go ahead and move this right around here. There we go. Just to give the illusion that he's moving. Maybe we can change the angle a little bit. Alright, so now we want to create that blur, and we want to create a mask. And then we want to take our paintbrush, make sure it's black, and just slightly hit it a little bit because we don't want it over the top. We can change the opacity to 9, and let's see. I think this is a wrap. I think it looks pretty good. I think I like what I see here. Alright guys, so what do you think? I think it turned out really nice. There is actually several ways that you can do this. Another way that you can do this is by throwing the object. So if you have your prop or your object and you have in a system or a photographer, you can actually throw the item and try to get that picture however you want. Now the difficult part is that you may have to get to maybe a lot of takes, maybe like take 100, take 200 before you can get that actual shot that you want. Second, for us photographer, I'm pretty sure we don't want to do that with our collectible toys, just in case we drop them. So other than that, you can get really creative and do this to yourself. If you have an assistant, things are much easier. The reason why I use the tripod and the stands because I live in the second floor, so every time I move there's some movement going on, and for this shot to make it easier, the best way is to keep everything still, and that's why I recommend to use a tripod as well. So other than that, guys, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed here to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and don't forget to activate that notification bell so that way you don't miss any of my videos. I guess I will see you guys next time. Take care, guys. Bye.